separate it because it's still being held on by this piece right here. So at first I was like, okay, that's fine. Maybe I can just separate this lower half piece right here by just unscrewing it and prying it open. Nope, that's not the case. I've done that a few times already. I've even caused some damage here. I actually got a piece of the blade of my X-Acto knife stuck in here, and it took me a while to get it out. But I really believe it's because of this metal pin right here to his knee joint. This thing is obviously sealed on to this piece right here, so the two halves are always sticking together. And you know, like I said, there's no way to know for certain without massive tear on this figure. I mean, I would really have to take my Dremel tool and cut this open, pretty much melting the figure's leg in the process to figure out where this mushroom peg is. So, fuck it. I'm not willing to do it. There is absolutely no way possible without breaking this figure. There's no way to get these legs open to, you know, work with the ratcheting joints that were given. You know, it was a trial and error thing, and unfortunately, I gotta say that it was a bust. There is virtually no way to modify Megatron's legs. You know, it's been a while since I looked back at that video and realized that the impossible is virtually possible if you take the time to figure out your issues. So, after just studying this figure and figuring out how exactly his ratcheting joints work and what degrees, I was able to pull off the impossible. So, here it is as your proof. Voila. There you go. Look at that. See it? See it? See it? That's right. Let me get it all on camera so you can see it. See it? Yeah, that's right. His legs aren't straight down. They're not split out too far. As you can see right here, officially on this camera, right here, as you're seeing this video, his legs are in a stance where they look perfect. This is exactly the way the figure should have been. As a matter of fact, it's gotten to the point where I feel like I understand the reason why Hasbro uses these kind of joints for like heavy leader class figures, but you know, if it doesn't work as best as it should, maybe you should try something else. Like, oh, I don't know, go back to ball joints or something. Maybe tighten them up, make them a little thicker or something. I don't know. Because these ratcheting joints really are limiting the Transformer figures, and there's like hardly any way to pull this off, especially with Combiner Wars Megatron. But I did it, and here's how I did it, and I'm going to show it off in this video as best as I can. Now, I didn't just do this for the legs, I also fixed the arm issue, because as you know, the ratcheting joints on the arms are no better than the legs. So, here's what I did. Alright, so first of all, I need to go ahead and apologize for that last video I did, which was way back when, saying that it's impossible to actually fix Megatron's issues with the leg joints, but it is possible, but you just gotta have the right tools. As you can see, it's not a perfect job. It isn't. You can see that there's pretty much some damage all over his legs here. It's especially underneath. You also see this frosting looking color here, which is obviously this. But, yeah, what I pretty much did is that if you work around the figure's leg, I know, there's like hardly any room to actually work with this figure, because there really is nothing here to work with, because you've got so much hindrance to this figure. It's really impossible to actually get to these gears. But as you can see, what I'm showing off here, there is a way. You just gotta, you know, you gotta mess around with the legs, because you can actually, if you're pulling this off right, you can actually get the legs to come out some more in the opposite way. So, yeah, I flipped the legs around, and now I'm able to actually get into all these teeth. And, you know, that's the issue with the gears. It's because of the teeth that his legs are actually straight down to a point where they're just curving into each other, or they're actually split out this far. But now that we can actually get to the teeth, what I did was I took my Dremel tool, which I do not have with me at this moment. Sorry about that, but I shaved it all. I got rid of those teeth. It's not perfect. As you can see, some pieces still remain, but guess what? It doesn't hinder the articulation one bit. But, you know, doing that, it did cause the legs not to be... There's the piece underneath here, in which, you know, I'm assuming that it's no different from the actual arm joints that they're using, you know, for what catches on the ratcheting gears, which I've got right here. This is probably the same thing that they're using on the inside of this leg piece. But, yeah, it's got nothing to catch on. So, unfortunately, when all was said and done, the legs were dangling completely, like very floppy. There was nothing for it to catch on. Megatron couldn't stand for shit. So I screwed up in a way, but you know, it really benefits when you've actually got some brush-on super glue, because you know, it does create a boundary. It creates like a layer underneath or on top of the actual plastic. So you know, I like soaked it with brush-on super glue, and I only use brush-on super glue for most of these close-up projects, because if you use something like, oh, I don't know, let's say liquid super glue, or maybe even gel super glue, it's obviously going to drip in between the gears. It's going to drip off of the figure's legs and onto the floor. You'll have a mess, and not to mention you'll also get the legs stuck, and you know, you're fucked. Let's just be honest, you're fucked. So you know, it took a little time and patience, but yeah, I coated maybe like 4 times here. Not at once. You know, I gave it time to dry, like a minute, then I coated another, let it sit for a minute, then coated again, and so on. But after like 4 to 5 coats, and moving the leg at the same time, might I recommend that, so, you know, the glue doesn't dry and get the leg stuck. As you can see, when I get this crotch piece flipped back up, put these back down, his legs are very tight. To the point, they're not flopping. It works. It really does work. Super glue, or should I say brush-on super glue, saved this figure from actually being permanently loose. You know, to the point where he's unusable. He's not able to be displayed, and it's probably a figure that I would just toss to the side. But there we go. It worked. It's proof. Now, yes, I do have plans to go back and clean up the mess a little bit, especially with some of that frosting that was left over by the super glue underneath his legs. So that's going to take a little time, but that's something I'm going to do off of camera. And it's not really that visible. I mean, as you can see, the crotch piece and all this here, the skirt pieces right here on his sides are actually hiding all the work that was put into the ratcheting gears and stripping them away. So, you know, if you don't say anything, nobody's going to notice. And that's a good thing. Now, for the arms. There's already a mod tutorial on how to correct Megatron's arms. But, you know, I like to try and step it up just a little bit more. I like to one-up people when I get an opportunity. Because, in all honesty, while some of these videos are good, the fact is that they use rubber bands to actually tighten the arms without these pieces that I showed off earlier. This is what's used to catch the actual ratcheting teeth to the gears that are on the inside of the arms. But you don't need those anymore once you remove them. That's pretty much all said and done. So as you're seeing right here, as I try to do this real quickly because I'm running out of time on this camera, I'm opening up Megatron's arms if I can. Let me try that again. It's stuck. There we go. Alright, so that's out of the way, and now just gotta figure to, you know, physically get his arm off. And yeah, that was painful. I actually hurt my finger. Apologies, but yeah, this is pretty much it right here. This is what you're seeing. That's all that's holding Megatron's arm. If this breaks, well, that's it. That's not a good design, Hasbro. But yeah, this piece right here would actually be sitting right here, and this is what catches the teeth on this piece right here. But outside of that, that's it. There's nothing else in this compartment here. So once you remove those, obviously this is going to be really floppy as hell because, you know, unlike the legs, the gears here do not actually catch this peg joint that's attached to this front arm piece. It is actually extremely loose. There's like a huge gap in here. So what I did, instead of using a rubber band tutorial gimmick that did not work for me, I just used the brush on super glue gimmick. You know, coated it like 4, maybe 5 times. No, wait, sorry. Let me correct myself before you do something stupid. I did it once or twice. That's it. 1 time or 2 times. It was enough for it to catch. It made a nice coat that it's actually catching. It's pretty tight, but that's it. After that, you just reassemble the arm, screw back in the screws, and, you know, just let these be right here. You don't need these anymore. And as you can see, which I will show off right here, Megatron's arm, especially for the cannon, which puts a little heft on it, it's no hindrance whatsoever. As you can see, I'm showing it off right here. See? It's not floppy. It's not going down. The arm is pretty tight. To the point where it will hold its pose, but not to the point where you cannot mess with this figure. As you can see, it works. It works. It's perfect. There's no other way that this figure could have been modified. No way. This is it. This is the actual how to correct Megatron's leg joints and his arm joints. There's no other way possible. I don't know how the anonymous reviewer actually was able to do it. You know who you are. You never did say anything, but I'm showing it off right here. It's the living proof. This is how you do it. It's the only way. Unless you can deal with the issues with Megatron, this figure, you know, he's okay. He's a great figure. But really, it's those leg joints and those arm joints that needed another look. Hasbro, you needed a second glance at this. But there it is. I'm done.